Yes, good morning. So we've been talking a lot about Jay-Z and him trying to bring the casino to Times Square in partnership with Caesars Entertainment and SL Green. Well, yesterday, Wednesday, a state board rejected the Times Square casino bid from Jay-Z in Roc Nation and those companies that I mentioned. And they had planned to propose to do this at 1515 Broadway. The Community Advisory Board decided in a 4-2 vote that this wasn't something that was going to happen. Now, we do have audio from a meeting that went down yesterday following this decision. Let's take a listen to that.
You know it. We met the standard and then some, and the only one with courage to stand up is the governor and the mayor appointees, and everybody else runs and hides. Go run and hide. Because what you did, the benefits you denied this community and this city and state, you have to live with that history forever.
If it was meant to be, it would have been, but I just wonder, how does that state board justify not wanting all those hundreds of millions of dollars being invested into that community? Like, who's going to make that kind of investment into Times Square in that community now?
Oh, what a humiliating downfall for Roc Nation. Jay-Z strutted into this Times Square casino project with the swagger of a man who thought he couldn't lose. He pictured his name plastered across Broadway, neon lights flashing, slot machines ringing, and tourists lined up outside what he imagined would become his legacy's crown jewel. But instead of walking away as a savior of the community, Jay-Z and Roc Nation got embarrassed on the biggest stage possible. The same city that watched him rise from Marcy projects to global mogul looked him dead in the eye and said, "No, this isn't it." Think about the arrogance of the pitch. Jay-Z and Roc Nation dressed up this casino as if it was some noble mission, a revolutionary project that would change life for Black and brown New Yorkers. The way they sold it.
Perez, I'm the CEO of Roc Nation.
Roc Nation, you guys have a very important vote coming up with SL Green and Caesars Palace to open up a casino in Times Square. What is it going to look like if you guys get the green light?
We believe that this is going to have a positive net financial impact of $1 billion a year for New York City. In terms of community, we have created a bunch of programs that were community thoughtful programs that we've spent the last 4 to 5 years speaking to the community about, and have a board forward as part of the package, which is contingent upon us getting the license of helping the community in different ways.
What about job impacts?
Huge. We think Atlantic City, Las Vegas, this is going to be very different. It's just one building. Therefore, because the one building can't just keep the visitors inside, the visitors would have to go out and basically explore restaurants and hotels. And so it would be a huge impact in terms of jobs for New York City.
You guys have made, as a collective, a commitment to $250 million over the next 10 years in those investments. So talk to me a little bit about those programs that you guys have in mind to create.
Not just $250 million, we're also giving 0.5% of the revenue of SL Green, Roc Nation, and Caesars Palace to the community in perpetuity while we have the license. So the licenses, I believe, are going to be 25 to 30 years. So in that period of time, whether we're here or not, if the casino is open, meaning here alive, if the casino is open, the 0.5% goes to the community. It's given to the Westside Community Fund. And really what we did is we kind of went into the different communities, had conversations with the tenants, and heard what they needed. And what I heard was security, safety, paramount. We know how things are. Schubert Alley is very dangerous in that area, and the crime has gone up, obviously, since COVID. A lot of people have lost jobs. There's a lot of homelessness. So the parts of the packages actually mitigate those issues.
You would think every dice roll was going to pay for scholarships and every jackpot was going to rebuild neighborhoods. But peel back the surface and you see the truth. This wasn't about empowerment. This wasn't about healing communities. This was about Jay-Z's wallet, about Roc Nation's empire, and about squeezing more billions out of the same people they claimed to uplift. The so-called benefits were laughable. Jobs, traffic nightmares, safety, crime rates through the roof. Community uplift? More like community destruction. Let's be real. Slot machines and blackjack tables don't fix poverty, they feed it. And Jay-Z knew it. Jay-Z wasn't pitching a miracle. Jay-Z was pitching addiction disguised as opportunity. If you lived in New York, If you had to drag yourself onto a crowded train every morning just to get to work, would you really cheer for Jay-Z's casino adding more chaos to your commute? Would you thank Rock Nation for dropping a gambling den in the middle of your city? Or would you curse them for trying to sell you a scam wrapped in Beyonce's shine? And the math made the scam even uglier. Jay-Z and Rock Nation promised $250 million in community investment spread out over 10 years. 10 years. That's $25 million a year. Crumbs for an empire planning to pocket $2.5 billion annually. Imagine it. Billions in profits for Jay-Z, billions for Rock Nation, and pocket change for the very neighborhoods they claim to be saving. That's not charity, that's insult. That's not progress, that's robbery with paperwork. But when the backlash started building, Jay-Z refused to back down. Jay-Z did what Jay-Z always does. He pulled out celebrity cosigns to distract from the scam. Suddenly, Charlemagne the God was talking about how Jay-Z was the only one willing to invest in black communities. Suddenly, Al Sharpton was rallying like it was a civil rights movement, chanting Jay-Z's name like a freedom song. Suddenly, the casino wasn't just a casino, it was being sold as a fight for black dignity. And if you dared to question it, if you said, wait, this looks like exploitation, you were painted as a traitor. That's the hustle. That's the Rock Nation playbook. Turn critique into betrayal. Turn opposition into racism. Make yourself untouchable by weaponizing identity. But New Yorkers aren't fools. Theater workers spoke up. Broadway performers raised alarms. Families who lived near Times Square told the truth. More traffic, more crime, more chaos. They weren't about to let Jay-Z's empire bulldoze their lives. They weren't about to trade the heartbeat of the city for Jay-Z's slot machines. The voices got louder, and the slick PR machine of Rock Nation started to crack. For every promise they dangled, people demanded receipts. For every slogan they shouted, people asked for math. And when the numbers came out, the math was clear. Jay-Z and Rock Nation weren't giving back. They were cashing out. Picture this scene. A single meeting. A state board, 6 members sitting at a long table, papers stacked in front of them. Microphones buzzing. Jay-Z's team walked in with their polished suits, their PowerPoints, their celebrity endorsements. They thought the deal was done. They thought money and fame had already bought the outcome. But then the vote came down. For against, 2 in favor. For voices saying no to the most powerful black mogul in America. For votes that crushed years of scheming in seconds. Imagine the silence in that room. Imagine the panic in Rock Nation's offices when the news broke. For the first time in years, Jay-Z and Rock Nation got told no, and this time, no amount of brunches or backroom deals could reverse it. The collapse was instant. The media headlines read like obituaries for the project. Casino bid rejected. Rock Nation crumbles. Jay-Z's plan dead in the water. For a man who built his image on always winning, on being 10 steps ahead, on playing chess while everyone else played checkers, this was humiliation in broad daylight. And the community, they cheered. Because the people knew the truth. This wasn't a missed opportunity. This was a bullet dodged. But here's the part that burns the most. Jay-Z tried to act like this was about the community, but when the mask slipped, it was obvious. It was always about Jay-Z, always about Rock Nation, always about money. And when the people stood up, when the board shut it down, when the scam collapsed, Jay-Z didn't just lose a business deal, he lost credibility. The collapse of the casino plan was loud. But the fallout was even louder because once the dust settled, people started asking bigger questions. Was this the first time Jay-Z and Rock Nation had sold the community a dream that only benefited themselves? The answer was no, because this casino fiasco was nothing more than another remix of the same hustle Jay-Z has been running for years. Just look at Tidal, the so-called black-owned streaming platform that Jay-Z paraded as a revolutionary movement for artists and fans. He stood on a stage flanked by Nicki Minaj, Kanye West, Rihanna, and others, declaring independence from corporate exploitation. He told the world it was about fairness, about culture, about empowerment. But when the checks cleared, who cashed out? It wasn't the artists. It wasn't the community. It was Jay-Z. He flipped Tidal for $300 million, left others with crumbs, and moved on to the next hustle. That is the exact same blueprint he tried to run with this Times Square casino, promising empowerment while preparing to cash in. And who can forget the NFL deal? After Colin Kaepernick was blackballed, after players sacrificed their careers for protest, after black communities rallied for justice, who walked into the league boardroom and said, "We're past kneeling"? It was Jay-Z. He stood next to NFL executives, smiling and shaking hands, promising that Rock Nation would bring change, promising opportunities for black voices, promising justice. But what did people really get? Halftime shows, PR optics, and more empty slogans while Jay-Z collected another check. The NFL didn't change, but Rock Nation got richer. It was exploitation dressed up as partnership, the exact same pattern repeating. Every time Jay-Z tells the world he's doing it for the people, the end result is always the same. Jay-Z profits while the people are left with scraps. That is why the casino play fell apart so spectacularly. Because the community finally recognized the pattern. Rock Nation tried every trick in the book to sell this dream. They paraded Alicia Keys. They paraded Al Sharpton. They even brought in Fat Joe to host free community dinners as a free Mac. And Cheese could erase the consequences of planting a gambling den in the middle of Times Square. They whispered about Beyonce's meet and greets. They waved around 0.5% revenue promises. They wrote checks to community leaders worth $20,000 a month just to keep them silent. But the people weren't fooled. They knew that the real money was flowing upward into Jay-Z's pocket and into Rock Nation's empire, while the community was being bought off with crumbs. And the way Jay-Z and Rock Nation tried to guilt the city into compliance was disgusting. They painted anyone who opposed the casino as anti-black, as enemies of progress, as traitors to the culture. Imagine the arrogance of that narrative, as if saying no to slot machines meant saying no to justice. But the truth was clear. There was nothing empowering about gambling debt, nothing progressive about addiction, nothing liberating about destroying families in the name of profit. That is why the opposition grew stronger. That is why Broadway workers spoke out. That is why ordinary New Yorkers raised their voices until the board had no choice but to listen. And when the vote came down, for members stood up against the most powerful mogul in entertainment and shut down his billion-dollar dream. The imagery of that rejection will haunt Jay-Z forever. Picture him sitting in a Rock Nation office, waiting for the victory call, expecting headlines about his genius, only to hear that the bid was crushed in public. Imagine the panic, the frantic phone calls to Desiree Paris, to lobbyists, to allies in politics, all trying to salvage something that was already dead. Imagine the headlines flashing across every screen. Jay-Z's casino bid rejected. Rock Nation loses Times Square gamble for a man who built his reputation on always winning, always being 10 steps ahead, always outsmarting the system. This was humiliation, and for once, there was no spin that could hide it. There was no spin that could hide it.